Currently, I have this brick and mortar business, and my aim is to get out of operator into owner. Okay, let's just move these and these. I'll get them just now. And then, so basically, I'm going to demonstrate how I think. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not yet the owner. So in the previous video, I talked about one of the ways I got out is by publishing a book. Okay. Which now I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, okay, that's one way. So I need to simplify this current facility because operating a swim school, how I was taught, is basically that is used across many facilities. Like, for example, if you have a medical doctor, he charges or she charges X amount per consultation, which is the same model I've been using which is the swimming lesson at a certain price per lesson. Okay. The same thing applies to, for example, an attorney. So an attorney charges that fee per phone call. That's not even acting as your representative attorney, for example, or the phone call might be in the form of a letter. Okay. The same goes for many other facilities, brick and mortar facilities, because we are so focused on this part of the fee, so to speak, which I'm going to put a question mark on, calculating our profit at month end. Okay. Yet, one consultation, one lesson, or one letter does not equal the month. That equals only, how can I say, for better clarity, that equals, let's say, for example, one block in your month. So now we are conditioned in a way to think, okay, well, that's how long my month is. Now I need to kind of fill this month with so many slots and so many lessons and so many consultations in order to be able to pay whatever bills I have to pay at the end of the month to keep this facility running or this practice running. And I just compared the different industries out there by using this example, because operating like this, you will never be able to come out, even though, because this is the thing I was asking myself this morning, even though I've got this, I've published a book, but now I need to wait a long time for this to accumulate income so that I can eventually step out and just the owner. So I'm in a way not paying it forward at the end of the day. Okay. So that made me think, okay, well, there must be something I'm missing here. And I started to look at the whole industry as a whole from, how can I say, my lane. Okay. So I have more than a decade's experience of hands-on teaching in this particular industry, but the principle applies to many different industries. Okay. So then this morning, I thought to myself, okay, I've got this thing going. The easy way out is to just sell the property and sell the business. That's the easy way out. But in 2 or 5 or 10 years down the line, I'm going to sit with the same problem of literally spending more than what I'm making at the end of the month. Because think about your fridge. Your refrigerator is running 24/7, yet you only get paid once a month to cover that electricity bill. Just, to simplify the matter. Okay, so this is now the third time I'm restarting the same business in the form of a swim school. And in the previous video, I mentioned with the end in mind. So this is why I thought, okay, well, I am busy working on my whiteboard. I might as well just record it and use it purposefully. So I saw this morning, in the sense of kind of setting not a perfect boat, but you guys are kind of knowing where I'm going. So now I've got this invisible boat, and now I need to add more fishing lines in the water, so to speak. Okay. So I've got the one which I can't rely on with immediate results, so to speak. So I need to put more lanes in the water, not necessarily to catch more fish in the sense of making faster income. I have to do something with my current facility. Number one, that no one else is doing. And number two, that makes the result for the actual customer of more value. Okay, so currently, well, I can actually only just speak from my current lane in the sense of running a swim school that offers swimming lessons, water fitness classes, and independent, public people just coming to rent the lane, basically. Okay. But before I get into what I've done just over the past week and how I'm actually getting out, I want to go back in the sense of these two represents the last decade. It's the same swim school. It's the same client that I'm servicing or offering the service to. But what I've learned by the industry is what I said earlier about having the customer in a position that they can only join once a week or twice a week or 3 times, depending on the customer's budget. But I don't believe a customer joins my sessions for eliminating time in the sense of, okay, well, I've only got time for once a week, because they join because they are looking for the outcome, for their child to be able to know what to do in and around water, should they fall in or something like that. And the same goes for the adult who does my water fitness classes. They join for the benefit of getting healthier, getting more fit, moving better, and having less pain, you know. But how the industry has been operating since I became part of the industry is this first half decade and the last part of the half decade, which makes 1 decade. This is now literally starting over with a decade of experience in the business operating. Okay. But the point they miss in the whole is the actual result for the client. So what I mean by having a client join, so let me write it down in the sense of you have one child equals 1 session per week, or the next child equals 2 sessions per week. Okay, and let's say, for example, because when I started, lessons were either 15 minutes or 20 minutes long. And really, what can a child learn in that time? And you've got them for that period of time because your model is charging either once a week or twice a week. Okay, now just want to check if this is recording. Okay, perfect. Now, how long is it going to take? Obviously, the child that comes twice a week is going to progress faster. Okay, so most parents know this. If I bring my child only once a week, they're going to take a lot longer than the child that comes twice a week. Okay, but the model is incorrect because it doesn't really serve the customer. Okay, at the end of the day. So I thought long and hard about this current model my particular industry is using. And then it really hit me, like, coaching practices and medical doctors practices, they are using the very same model. And yes, okay, given the industry, the results are different depending on what the customer is looking for in terms of the results. But now I'm thinking to myself, okay, why must the parent be the one that is not actually getting the result in the time period that they wanted in? So most often than not, the parents that sign up for my swimming lessons actually come from a place of anxiety, or something happened. They had this experience and something happened. Their child fell in the pool, or they even witnessed someone else in this panic situation. And then do they actually make the effort to research swim schools near them, to find out about swimming lessons and finding out about teachers that can actually teach their children how to swim. Okay. But then I decided the third time, when I'm going to open this same swim school, same industry, same, how can I say, results, so to speak, how can I add more value to my current customer, and not relying on this, because this may take the child 2 years to really learn how to be independent in the pool. And this might take the child 1 year. So now I said to myself, okay, I'm not going this route again because I've done it twice. And it just does not work, because after a period of, let's say, 3 or 4 months or 6 months, life happens and the family needs to move, or they need to relocate overseas or something like that. And this is not enough of momentum to actually teach the child to become conscious about knowing what to do in and around the pool. Okay, so I can share a little story with this, because this is part of my thinking. In the second time when I lost the first swim school, same swim school, but it was due to COVID. And when I reopened everything, I was still focusing on having my model like this. And oh yes, the other problem that happens is eventually your cost of running the facility doesn't equal the fees you charge. So now you have to always forever increase your fees. Okay. But coming back to the story, so I had this little 3-year-old, and he came once a week for lessons, and it was about 2 or 3 months down the line, and I received this frantic phone call from the mother on a Sunday, and she's in tears, and I could barely hear what she was saying, because now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, something seriously has happened, and then I thought, no, what you've done with the child in the pool is a bigger purpose, because my methodology in teaching the child to be conscious about the fact when they are in and around water, I kind of flipped the script. Anyway, so this mom is in tears because she is actually not believing what just happened, because they are literally at a birthday party and there's a swimming pool, and her little boy was riding his bicycle and he just came to her soaking wet. So she obviously knew he fell in the pool. But the reason her little boy was crying is because the bicycle he was riding was still at the bottom of the pool. And this is what I mean by teaching the child to be conscious in knowing what to do when something like that happens. So the little boy didn't cry because he fell into the pool with clothes and all. He was actually conscious of the fact that I don't know how to get my bicycle out. Let me go call mommy. And that's why he was crying. Okay. So that's just a little story I wanted to share. So at the end of the day, then I said to myself, okay, what have I actually taught this little boy? And I went back and I looked at all my notes and all my documentation, what I do on a specific day with the child. So then I figured out, okay, my lessons wasn't 15 minutes or 20 minutes long. My lessons reached a period between 40 and 45 minutes. And I said to myself, okay, that is something a parent can invest in, because 15 or 20 minutes long is basically just hanging your towel up and getting onto the step, so to speak. So in this session, the value and the guidance I gave the child at the age of 3 led to the story I just shared. But then I thought to myself, okay, regardless of the time, the parent still struggles with this, you have to choose once a week or twice a week kind of model. Okay, so then I said to myself, okay, what can I do to help the parents to say, okay, the facility is here, we offer the service, but you can come whenever you like. And I thought to myself, no, that can't work. What if you have 20 people arriving for the lesson, for example? And this is how my thinking birthed the idea to invest in software and systems that can actually manage this type of model. Okay. And the best example I can use is Virgin Active. And they have this facility that offers everything. The weight circuit, the spinning classes, the aerobic step classes, just the general gym section. But it's one set thing, and the customer decides when they want to go and how often they go. So I contemplated this for a very long time. And finally, only after a decade of being hands-on in the operator mode, I then introduced to my members what I now call the one membership, multiple benefits. Okay. So how this works, which I now actually have to train my customers because they're also used to, no, but I only want to come for one class. I don't have time to come every day kind of thing. So now I have to step up my standards in the sense of teaching the customers and what they were used to, that it's now changed actually to their benefit. Okay. And this only came to me when I started realizing that I need to step out as the owner, not just the operator. Okay. So for example, if I can draw a little stick and my fishing line, that is one line. Okay. And so far so good. It's been working very well. So now I have the control in the sense of offering this one membership to multiple sessions. So for example, the mom signs up to get her child swimming, and the mom can also join the water fitness classes. Now I've got one price, and the membership helps the adult with their health and helps the child with their safety. So it's a win-win. And the bonus is they can come as much as they want. Okay. So now it's becoming a no-brainer to the customer to see the value without them having to choose, okay, well, I can only come once a week, but now I have to sacrifice my health because I need my child to learn how to swim, for example. So now it's a combination. And if the mom doesn't want to join the aqua aerobics class, but she has her mom that has been struggling with chronic knee pain or hip pain, that equals one adult. So the granny comes and joins the aqua classes, and the grandchild then joins the swimming lesson, but it's one membership. Okay. My little one there playing in the garden. Okay, so that's basically what I've been working on the last week. So now I need to deploy this in my business as the operator, because this is now another way of me stepping into the owner. So the next thing I thought about is actually renting my facility for, pool party hire. Okay, so that is another line that I've got in. Remember, I'm still operating as the operator. Okay, and then the next thing was my hiring also the pool out for corporate team building events, like putting a volleyball net up, for example. So these are all different ways that I can eventually step out of the operator mode. Okay. But the big thing that happened is I could see this model that I was kind of taught, because I'm new in the industry 10 years ago, that's how we learned how to set up our swim school business. And it doesn't work to the benefit of the customer. And at the end of the day, a business is not a business if there is not customers. Okay. So that's what I mean by the end in mind. So what I've then done is I've added another section to my business is beyond the swim school, is to help other swim schools realize the fact that if they are running the same model, the clients, the customers will get frustrated because they're not seeing the results. Because remember, earlier I showed you, if you come only once a week or twice a week, it's going to take you almost a year or 2 years to get that result. Okay. And it's, for me personally, that's just too slow. Okay. So this idea came up only when I started teaching myself that, hey, you know what, I can't do this for the next 20 or 40 years because the income from this is just too slow. And by helping, not necessarily telling other swim schools how they should teach swimming, they already know how to do it. But now we're going to accelerate their profit for focusing on the actual customer outcome and what it is going to do for the customer at the end of the day. Okay, so that's another line. And then I thought long and hard, instead of kind of going into the industry and teaching my methodology in the story I shared with all of you about the little boy that fell in with his bicycle, I am not targeting the existing swim schools to change their methodology. So now I'm basically throwing one stone to hit two birds. And this is the next one that I invested in my own way of thinking and teaching it to someone else, inspiring them to actually, at the age of 3, be conscious about when life happens and what they need to do, what's the next logical step. Okay. So then I started developing a curriculum to train in-house instructors. So my aim here, and guys, you can basically, this can be a framework for any brick and mortar business, okay? Because you already have hands-on experience, and this framework is not for people who are thinking of starting a new business, okay? This is basically the framework for the founder of that brick and mortar business now thinking about, okay, what's going to happen after this? I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm still stuck in the same seat. I'm still stuck in the same office. I thought I was building this for my family and my children. They don't want it. They don't have the same interest in, as my line of industry. So all of these things are going in the back of the mind of the founder because this is happening to me. And since I am building this while I'm still operating this, because people, we kind of have to have a gap for the young ones to come in somewhere and the older ones to get out. Okay. But we miss that because we are so focused in doing the thing that pays the bill at the end of the month. We don't think of the people that's going to come after us, nor do we think about what's going to happen after doing this for 30, 40 years. And this is where my thinking is going, because I won't be able to continue to do this for the next 20 years. Okay? Because when I think about it, I've been in the working field for 20 years. And what have I got? I've just got a pile of bills. Okay? So that's not the life I pictured when I left school and I went and studied and I got my first job. That's not the life I pictured. So this is the only way, I believe, is something that you can step out as the operator and become the owner. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, this is now what is currently happening within my current facility. And I thought, okay, well, I'm still thinking inside of the box, so to speak. Got my lines out, and I have to start thinking as the owner. Okay. And this is where a very critical point in my thinking came, because it was only when I started, how can I say, having a bird's eye view of this whole thing is, okay, now I've got this in the pipeline. I'm training other instructors how to do what I did here, not to become a clone of me. In fact, my influence is so good that they will eventually become better than me. Okay. So now I'm here. Then only when I came to this point and saw the big picture did I add this. So let's put it here as another line. And then this one as another line. So these are two brands I started. Well, you can't see it, but let's put it there. And let's put it there. Okay, yeah. Let's make, because now you can see it on the screen. Okay, so there's another rod. Okay. And here's another rod. You see the big ones. Okay, so basically, what this brand represents is for people. Let me just check what is happening here. So this is for people that have home pools. And this is for people who have home pools. Okay. So I'm already doing what I'm doing. Now, by stepping above the whole operational mode, I can reach more people that also has a home pool. So this, guys, can actually show you where you are is really, most often than not, a place where you should be. Okay. And what I mean by should be is, if this seems like a lot of effort, what's going to happen in 10 years' time? It's going to be the same thing you were 10 years ago. So if you can put yourself in, because these are this one and this one and this one and this one is literally making me step out of my comfort zone, because most times people that have been operating a certain type of business is not necessarily wanting to know about running their own business. Okay. And I believe I realized that part too late in my business. So I thought, well, I've got half a decade, under my belt. I've got over 250 families I have hands-on teaching with. I've got the results, I've got the reputation, and I was not prepared to take advice necessarily from someone in the same industry, but take advice in the sense of someone who can, I don't want to say predict the future, but help you to see the existing benefit that you are really doing by scaling it. Okay. So I only learned this about halfway through the second time round of building this business. Okay. And I started listening to people in a different industry, but had what I wanted. And they have multiple branches. They have, thousands of instructors, but they're in a different industry. So obviously I could learn something from that founder, but I very soon realized that just as I am stuck as the operator, he's also stuck as the operator in the business he built 20, 30, 40 years ago. And this is basically my ecosystem of getting to the major point when I started the video. Okay, so now let's do my main focus point in what I actually wanted to show you guys how my thinking works. Just move all of these out of the way. Okay, so I think the best thing for you guys is look at your current industry, whether you are employed, whether you are the owner, whether you are working from home, whether you're working for someone else. Look at what you have and then structure the thing so that you can start putting lines out into becoming someone financially independent. Okay, because at the end of the day, I can't focus only on the one facility and offer, the services under that facility, because it's going to lead to something I see happen a lot. And this is not necessarily with people that owns their own business. In fact, I shouldn't actually say that, because the business owns you. Okay. But what I'm trying to get at, the point I'm making is, when you come to a place in your life where your expenses is more than your income, you go out and find quick things like network marketing, like Amway products, like Avon products, selling additional stuff just to make a little bit of extra income. And you have a full-time job and you're doing this part-time, and then, or drop shipping, or like Amazon affiliates or things like that. So you start adding a lot of things you think is going to help you at the end of the month. And as a business operator that's operating a business, I made the same mistake in that I had the swimming pool, I had the offer as swimming lessons, I had the offer as water fitness, but then because the income was like getting short, the longer I operate, I started adding different products to just make that month at the end of the month. And it confused my customers, and it also created havoc in my finances. Okay. Because I was doing my best to run a business, but then it had multiple incomes. So now I'm using, like, if I sell network marketing products and it comes into the same bank account as the swimming lessons account, and then I'll spend the money that comes in from the network marketing company's products on the swim school business, which long term, it can't be like that, because it's basically using a second credit card to pay off your first credit card. Okay, that's what it basically comes down to, guys. So What I'm going to show to you in the next video is what I'm actually building simultaneously to my swim school. Okay, and this is the channel you're on. And it's called The Building Under Pressure, which actually only started after I published my book. Okay, so for some reason, I got a lot of clarity in writing about my life. So it's a memoir. I wrote it as a memoir. I also wrote it as a business book to help people to think about building something that is self-feeding. Okay, so the brick and mortar little house on the boat, I can now take that analogy and literally move around with it. Okay. And it will become a self-feeding model because I've got all the lines in, okay, in the ocean, so to speak. So the nitty-gritty part of this self-feeding thing is now that I've becoming a person who has written about how I think and what's the next logical step, the building under pressure page is really something that I learned from my own father, and also in a partnership I recently did with a big company, and that has the footprint on a global scale. So he's got multiple branches around the globe and thousands of instructors, yet he is still stuck in this brick and mortar business. Okay, he's still the founder. The last time I spoke to him, I'm not going to mention any names, but I could sense he knows he is in a position where who's going to take over from him, because everything he knows how to do is literally in his head. And the same with my father. He's also in a position where he's still running the same company because, yes, it's all he has, yet he never thought about beyond the brick and mortar. Okay, and this is why I built Building Under Pressure. Okay, so that is now, so let's go with the same example. So even though this is not a physical brick and mortar business, eventually it will become a brick and mortar franchise model business that actually goes deeper in helping more business founders transition from operator to owner and from owner to ownership. Okay, that's how I came about the analogy with using a boat. Okay, so again, I'm going to draw the boat, and this time I want you to focus on literally having two sails. Okay. Well, the reason why I'm changing it is because the one is steady and going. This one can make me move faster because this is my digital boat. Okay. So remember in the previous example, I showed you all about how I'm reaching more customers that's got their home pool. Okay. This was just mainly focused on my location. This boat allows me to do that same home pool on a global scale. Okay. So let's make these ones red, the fishing line. Okay. And this little boat also made me think about people stuck in the 9 to 5. So my thinking there is beyond the 9 to 5. Okay. So now we've got beyond the brick and mortar for founders that has been kind of stuck in that brick and mortar, like the founder of the partnership I just talked about. But then also I thought about people who are still stuck in their job, thinking about starting their own business. Okay. And that is why I created this one, Beyond the 9 to 5. So how do they actually go? Because if you look at social media, um, people are either just beginning or they are way beyond making millions. There's no one on social media doing what I'm currently doing in just the next step. Okay. So how does this person go from a job and actually start a business? Okay. Okay. So now I've got all these lines in my digital boat out in the ocean. Okay. The fundamental thing I realized, not just in my business, but in every business, in the sense of what's just the next step, is the reason why I started all of these little icons. And my first time operating the business, I was only focused on this one facility with the different services that I offered. And then also what I focused was on literally my neighbors as my clients. So it was a very small thinking. And at the time, it was a very good idea because I didn't need it much more until I realized the cost of living just daily. Okay. Until I realized that whatever I'm spending now to live by my means of housing, clothing, food, children, family, it's not going to be the same 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So all of these, my two boats, so to speak, all of these lines going out, I taught myself how to duplicate what works. Okay. In doing that, I reflected back on how I actually taught under pressure in a swimming pool, for example, teaching a little one how to swim. Because in a swimming pool, I have a 5 milliliter margin of error that could actually cause that child to drown. So now just picture that for a second. I've got this little child in my hands. Mommy or daddy is sitting outside, or granny is sitting outside. And whatever I am doing, I have 5 milliliters margin of error. And I sat back the last couple of months, now starting the same business for the third time, and thinking about using that same margin of error in my next decade and what I'm doing for the next decade. And that 5 milliliters is becoming such a phenomenal insight about using that to build a business that not only that I own, but also that is self-feeding, that doesn't rely on my physical presence. It doesn't rely or depend on me physically doing the classes, or physically training the instructors to do the classes, or physically being present to run the facility and teach the staff what to do. These are all the things that I have to do right now. But eventually, by guiding and teaching others how to do it, that means I can now step out and still have a business that runs without me. And this is the point I wanted to get at in terms of ownership. Okay, so the biggest thing I want you guys to take away from this, since I'm now figuring it out and simultaneously recording how I think and what's going on for my life in the next decade, I am teaching myself what I wish my parents taught me. In that is not just financial independence, but creating financial wealth for generations to come. Not just for my children, but for other people's children as well. So remember earlier in the video, I mentioned about people are so stuck in their brick and mortar business that they don't see the gap for young ones to come in and old ones to leave. Okay. So, because that's just the reality, guys. Young and old, that's it, you know. So now the next step for me was to, okay, I've got all these lines with my physical facility. I'm in the process, I'm building all of these. And all of these little circles you see is actually physically deployed in the form of a Facebook page. Okay, so this is not just a metaphor I'm using. This is actually my reality. Every line that is going out of my boat is a Facebook page. Okay, so let's narrow it down to the, because there's a lot of moving parts. So I just thought about a lot of moving parts, and the thing I want you all to take away from this is look at your life, look at the current industry that you are in, and realize how the thing that you know how to do, given your skills and expertise in your specific lane, how can you deploy that into creating a self-feeding business for yourself and your family? Okay, so these are the main two. So I've got my physical facility, my physical boat, and my digital boat. Okay, now I needed to, how can I say, create an umbrella, because all of my fishing lines are in the form of a Facebook page, and now I've got to kind of manage that. And I was actually sitting and thinking yesterday, if I am not actually once again building myself stuck into a business that I won't be able to get out eventually. And then I realized, if I do the same thing that I applied in my physical swim school and build it the same way that I'm intentionally building my digital boat, then both of them are going to sink. Okay? So that's why I invested in not a new company per se, but having a strong trilogy, because yes, all of them are me and how I think and how I'm building, but this keeps my focus on having the ability and capability to tell someone else just about the next step. Okay. So the bottom line is we all want more money, better health, better homes, better cars, better clothes. That's just a simple reality of life. But no one actually steps back and helps the person who just stumbled on the rock you just stepped over. And this is why I'm stepping up in terms of my building under pressure, because I've realized in all the different phases of this past decade of my life, the biggest mistake I made was just focusing on this one small facility, but I couldn't get beyond this until I learned from the partnership guy on he's doing the exact same thing I want to do, build more franchises, help more people, help more parents, you know. But then I realized in that same moment of expanding my awareness on where I can go with this one facility, I realized in the same breath that this guy is just as stuck as I am, but he's got the money, he's got the brand, he's got the franchises, he's got the thousands of instructors, he's got the massive bank account, yet he is still in the same position where I am. So what's really the difference between us, guys? And that's the phenomenal insight I am bringing forward to the social media, in the sense of I might as well tell you guys, because this is what I'm planning, basically written everything in the book, but it's so enjoyable for me to be in a position where I can help just you guys to figure out, okay, what's just the next step? Okay, so coming back to all the Facebook pages, is a lot of people make the mistake of more pages, more messages, more videos, more ads, more content. And once again, thank goodness I realized in creating all the pages is okay, you've got all the lines out, but now you're kind of building the same thing you did in your second half of the decade when you started the business for the second time, adding more products and adding more things that has nothing to do with the core thing that you're busy with. So I quickly realized that, okay, even though I've got a lot of lines out, it comes back to the same thing. Okay, so this is my future, and this is where I'm seeing myself in the next decade. This is my aim, where I want to go. And I'm going to get there by these two. Okay. So it is not easy to build a better life. It is not easy to make more money than you currently are. But we don't have to hustle. We don't have to do more in the sense of more Facebook pages, more social media, more ads, more products. We have to simplify what we already have, guys. So that's why I mentioned, look at your life, look at the industry that you are in, look at the skills in that particular industry that you have come to realize, okay, not that I do it better than someone else, but who is behind me that I can help get to where I am. Because it's only by helping the person who is where you were that you get further into where you want to go. Okay. Okay, guys. So that's it for today's video. And I am looking forward to this journey and sharing with you how I build in real time. Okay. Over and out.